What happens when a seasoned television host reaches her breaking point with royal entitlement? You won't believe what unfolds when Prince Harry sits down for what was supposed to be a promotional chat, only to find himself facing the most brutal questioning of his media career. The explosive confrontation that erupted last night has sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, with viewers witnessing a side of both Lorraine Kelly and the Duke of Sussex that nobody saw coming. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds. The atmosphere in the studio was electric from the moment Prince Harry walked onto the set. Lorraine Kelly, known for her warm Scottish charm and decades of broadcasting experience, greeted him with her trademark smile, but those watching closely could sense something different in her demeanor. The cameras rolled, and what started as pleasantries quickly transformed into television gold that nobody could have predicted. "Harry, lovely to have you here," Lorraine began, settling into her chair with that familiar maternal warmth that has endeared her to millions. "You've been making quite a few media appearances lately, promoting various projects. But I have to ask, don't you think the British public is getting a bit tired of hearing the same grievances over and over again?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Harry's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, his media-trained smile faltering for just a moment before he recovered. "Well, Lorraine, I think it's important for people to understand the truth about what really happened. My family has been through—" "The truth?" Lorraine interrupted, leaning forward with an intensity that caught everyone off guard. "Harry, you've told your version of events in books, documentaries, podcasts, and interviews. At what point do you think enough is enough? When do you stop profiting from family drama?" The studio fell silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath as they captured Harry's expression shifting from surprise to indignation. His hands, previously relaxed on the armrests, now gripped them tightly. "I beg your pardon?" Harry's voice carried a dangerous edge that royal watchers had rarely heard in public. "Profiting? I'm trying to heal, to share my experiences so others can learn from them. That's not profiting, that's helping people." Lorraine wasn't backing down. Years of interviewing politicians and celebrities had taught her to recognize deflection when she heard it. "Oh, come off it, Harry. You've made millions from these revelations. Book deals, Netflix contracts, speaking engagements, all built on dragging your family through the mud. Your grandmother, God rest her soul, must be turning in her grave." The mention of Queen Elizabeth II was like lighting a fuse. Harry's composure cracked completely, his voice rising as he pointed an accusatory finger at his host. "Don't you dare bring my grandmother into this. You have no idea what you're talking about. She supported me. She understood what I was going through." "Did she really?" Lorraine shot back, her Scottish accent becoming more pronounced as her own temper flared. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've spent the last few years systematically destroying everything she worked her entire life to build. The monarchy, the family unity, the respect that institution commanded. You've made it all into a circus." Harry was on his feet now, pacing like a caged animal. The carefully orchestrated media appearance had devolved into something raw and unscripted. "You think this is easy for me? You think I wanted any of this? I was driven out. My own family, the institution I served, they hung me out to dry when I needed them most." "Driven out?" Lorraine's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Harry, you walked away. You chose California. You chose the celebrity lifestyle. You chose to air your dirty laundry in public. Nobody forced you to do that tell-all book where you detailed private conversations and family secrets." The tension in the studio was suffocating. Production assistants exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to intervene or let the confrontation play out. This was no longer an interview. It was a verbal boxing match between two strong-willed personalities who had clearly struck each other's deepest nerves. Harry's face was flushed with anger as he turned to face Lorraine directly. "You know what your problem is? You're just another media vulture, picking over the bones of royal drama for ratings. You pretend to care about the monarchy, but really you just want to tear people down for entertainment." "Media vulture?" Lorraine stood up as well, matching his energy. "I've been in this business for over 30 years, and I've interviewed everyone from prime ministers to pop stars. But I've never sat across from someone so disconnected from reality. You live in a mansion in Montecito. You have more money than most people see in a lifetime, and yet you're still playing the victim card. Victim? Harry's voice cracked with emotion. My mother died because of media harassment. I've watched my wife suffer the same treatment, seen what this kind of scrutiny does to people I love. And you're sitting there judging me for trying to protect my family? Lorraine's expression softened for just a moment before hardening again. Harry, nobody disputes that Diana's death was tragic, and nobody wants to see history repeat itself. But you can't use that tragedy to justify every decision you make. You can't weaponize your mother's memory to silence legitimate criticism of your behavior. The words hit Harry like a physical blow. His mouth opened and closed several times before he found his voice, and when he did, it was filled with a fury that made everyone in the studio take a step back. How dare you? How dare you lecture me about my mother? You didn't know her. You weren't there. You have no right to tell me how to honor her memory. I have every right to call out hypocrisy when I see it, Lorraine fired back. You talk about protecting your family while simultaneously exposing them to global ridicule. You claim to want privacy while signing million-dollar deals to share intimate details of your life. Which is it, Harry? You can't have it both ways. The confrontation had reached a crescendo. Harry was visibly shaking with rage, his carefully maintained public persona completely shattered. The cameras continued rolling, capturing every moment of what would undoubtedly become one of the most talked-about interviews in recent television history. I don't have to sit here and listen to this, Harry snarled, reaching for his microphone and roughly pulling it from his shirt. You want to know the truth? The truth is that people like you, people in the British media, you're the reason my family is broken. You're the reason I had to leave my own country to protect the people I love. Lorraine watched him with a mixture of professional satisfaction and genuine sadness. Harry, if you just own up to your mistakes instead of blaming everyone else, people might actually respect you again. But this victim mentality, this constant finger-pointing, it's beneath you, and it's certainly beneath the institution you claim to represent. I don't represent anything anymore, Harry shouted, throwing the microphone onto his chair where it landed with a sharp thud that echoed through the stunned studio. And after this performance, neither do you. This is exactly the kind of tabloid journalism that destroyed my mother, and I won't be part of it. The Duke of Sussex turned on his heel and strode toward the studio exit, his security detail scrambling to keep up. But Lorraine wasn't finished. Her voice followed him across the studio floor, clear and unwavering. Running away again, Harry. Just like you ran from your responsibilities. Just like you ran from your family. When are you going to stop running and start taking accountability for your own choices? Harry froze at the studio door, his hand on the handle. For a moment, it seemed like he might turn around and continue the fight. The entire studio held its breath, waiting to see if the confrontation would escalate even further. But instead, he yanked the door open with such force that it slammed against the wall. This interview is over, he declared without looking back. And so is any relationship between me and this network. You'll be hearing from my lawyers. With that final threat hanging in the air, Prince Harry stormed out of the studio, leaving behind a stunned audience and a host who had just delivered one of the most explosive interviews of her career. The studio fell into an eerie silence as the implications of what had just transpired began to sink in. Lorraine remained standing, her chest rising and falling as the adrenaline of the confrontation coursed through her veins. She looked directly into the camera, her professional composure slowly returning as she processed what had just happened. Well, she said finally, her voice steady despite the chaos that had just unfolded. I think that tells you everything you need to know about where Prince Harry's priorities really lie. The cameras continued rolling for several more seconds before finally cutting to commercial, but the damage was already done. The confrontation that had started as a simple promotional interview had exploded into a career-defining moment for both participants, with the raw emotion and unfiltered honesty creating television that would be analyzed and discussed for years to come.